Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Two Old Farts. My name is Chuck.
I'm looking at the better look at the two old farts.
Well, welcome to season 3. Season 3. This is starting our third year. Can you believe that? Unfortunately, we could have and should have probably done one last weekend, but I don't know. Circumstances, time, apathy, I don't know. Whatever happened. We didn't do it. Sorry about that. But I think you got some news you wanted to pass on, old fart?
Yeah, I did. First day, the cold weather here, so we all know what to do with cold weather. So let's make sure we do it. Take care of the pipes and the pets and the people and things like that. I want to give a shout out to our good friend and to David Wilson for those pictures he shared from Dakota, and some of them, here in it was taken here with Shirley and your mom and stuff like that. But it's nice.
Do you know where those pictures were? Do you know where they were taken?
Some of them were taken here in the living room. The rest of them was in Dakota, Japan.
No, the rest were taken at Warner Robins. Yeah. You got to remember, how old was Tina when we left?
Do what?
How old was Tina when we left Japan?
She was 6. She went over at 2 and came back at 6.
She was 6. Okay, so she was about 8 in those pictures.
Yeah. Anyway.
So did we live in a duplex with a carport in Dakota, or did we live in a duplex with a carport in Warner Robins?
In Georgia, we lived in a duplex, but they also had a house.
And if you look at those pictures, we are all standing on the carport.
Well, that's true. So anyway, I appreciate him sending out those pictures. It brings back some memories.
Memories that you didn't even have.
Boy, your mom was hot. I'm going to tell you.
I can't comment on that.
Yeah, I look at those pictures. I told her last night, I said, I'm going to show you one of the many reasons why I fell in love with you. And I showed her that picture of her that David sent and stuff like that. So anyway.
My God. That's gross.
Then I want to say, shout out to your son-in-law, Peter, for his the new job at Moses Lake, Washington as a lead pastor and stuff like that. But
his first job as lead pastor.
Huh? Yep.
This is his first job as lead pastor.
Mackenzie with her honors at Texas State. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, she made the dean's list her third time. She made it in the fall of her freshman year, the fall of her sophomore year, and the fall of her junior year. I don't know what happens in the springtime other than spring break. I don't know, the San Marcos River right outside the campus. I don't know. Maybe that's why she misses it by 1/10 or 2/10 of a point in the spring. But hey, I couldn't be happier or prouder, man. She's rocking and rolling, kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, she's a chip off the old block there. I'm going to tell you what, when we moved from Georgia to Texas, who was on the National Honor Society? You were.
This guy.
So anyway, then the other thing I want to say is I'm really proud of you and your sister Tina, what you guys have become and how you're leading your lives and your children and the roles, the models that y'all set for them. You and Brenda with Mackenzie and your girls and your sister Tina with Jordan and how she handles special ed students at that school she's at. And the last thing is, I'm really excited about your cousins coming to see us in August. Brooke and Shannon. And her two boys. Her two boys. I think she has 2 boys. Yeah, Brooke has 2 boys, and Shannon's coming with her. And
so Shannon is too.
So I'm excited about that.
I didn't know Shannon. It was just Brooke. She said she's bringing the kids.
Yeah, I sent her another text. I went ahead and sent her the email address and stuff like that. That she said she didn't have any. So this morning I asked her who all was coming. She said her and Shannon and her 2 kids. And
Okay.
so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen them since they were little.
No, you're right. And that Brooke looks just like her mom, and Shannon looks like her dad.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so we'll be interested to see if Brooke acts like her mom. If she does, we're gonna have one hell of a good time.
Yeah, I think she looks after her, and I think she kind of takes after her.
Yeah, Vicky was fun. I'm gonna tell you, all your mom's brothers and sisters were fun. But Vicky, stayed with us for a little while and stuff like that. She's something else. She was fun. But anyway, that's a couple of things I want to talk about just very quickly, and just really proud of Mackenzie. Make sure she knows that, and you got many, many more to come. She's doing good.
Yep, she loves the praise, and she's smart girl, getting smarter every day. She must take after her mom.
That's probably true. She probably behaves better like her mom too.
No, her mom says she behaves more like me.
Okay. Well, what do you think about this new coach we got?
Oh man, I'm fired up. I am so happy that we landed Kalen DeBoer. You pull back the layers of the onion with him, and you see a pattern and a track record of winning. He has beaten Dan Lanning and Sark. They are all 0-5 against Kalen DeBoer. Since he arrived at Washington, you look at his record of winning, it is comparable to Nick Saban's. It is comparable to the Bears. And if he can do that at Washington, competing against all that Nike money at Oregon, all that Hollywood money at USC, and even UCLA, and he can do all that and went undefeated. And Penix, was he 2 or 3 in the Heisman vote this year?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you what. It goes back even further than that. Frank Thomas, way back in the day, he replaced Wallace Wade, who won a national championship and all that kind of stuff.
That was in the 30s, right? Or 20s?
In the 30s and 40s for Frank Thomas. They were saying the same thing about Frank Thomas. He was replacing a Nick Saban, if you will, okay, with Wallace Wade and stuff like that. And you go back and look at his record, and you look at his history of where he came from, Notre Dame and some University of Chattanooga and stuff like that, and his winning record and what he did at Alabama. I'm just hoping it falls in that same type of scenario, and I think will. You're right, because looking at his resume, he's nothing but a winner.
And I'm going to give you not one, but 2 reasons why he is a winner. The first one is Courtney Morgan. Courtney is he's like in player development. He's like his general manager. Okay. He gets the recruits. He has been with him since Fresno State.
Yep.
And if you saw Kalen DeBoer getting off the airplane, you know who was right behind him? Courtney Morgan. He's been his general manager for the past 2 seasons there at Washington. And he's ready to work. And if you don't know that name, he's been the director of player development at UCLA. He started his own company to connect athletes and other public figures with business opportunities. And he goes back to Michigan. He played offensive line at Michigan from 99 to 03. And he did something else up there with Michigan. He's one of the architects of Michigan being where they're at right now. So he held that same general manager role with Michigan in 2020. The other is Ryan Grubb. And if you don't know who Ryan Grubb is, Alabama fans, you better dig in and look at who he is. He was in the running for the offensive coordinator last year with Tommy Rees. I don't know why they didn't hire him or if he just wanted to stick around with Coach DeBoer. But those two have been together again since Fresno State. And he's coming with him. They haven't officially announced the hire, but he announced last night that he is not going to be the Washington Huskies head coach.
Right. And I'll tell you, there's one more name I think is going to come with him. William Inge, I-N-G-E. He's the defensive coordinator. He has the same history
Really?
as those. Yes, has the same history as, with DeBoer. Now, I haven't heard any chatter about him, staying or whatever he's doing, but there's a lot of talk about him following and coming with, and it makes kind of sense because Kevin Steele just announced his retirement. So
Thank God.
we got to find a defensive coordinator. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Tommy Rees.
I think their number one quarterback commit to Washington. I think he has decommitted from Washington. I do believe. Yeah. So he may follow Kalen DeBoer and the offensive coordinator and come to Tuscaloosa.
And that's the downside of this transfer portal type thing. Is good and bad. We got a lot of people who didn't think it was going to transfer at Alabama. So, but they are. When Saban announced, there's some defensive backs and stuff like that are transferring out to other universities. And I can understand that. If they don't think they're going to have an opportunity, or, in my opinion, not willing to show up and put the hard work in and actually earn that position all over again, they're leaving. But it'd be interesting to see how many people follow him, the talent-wise and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you, I'm excited, and I'm looking at this Wallace Wade and Thomas deal, that era, how the transition, how it went from, because everybody was talking about Frank Thomas not going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Went to the Rose Bowl, won the national championship, won two, if I'm not mistaken.
Wallace Wade, I think he only won one.
So. But
the only thing that gives me pause, is he's not even a Big Ten or SEC coach. He has no experience in that arena. That's my only concern. However, Colin, he just beat Sark in the CFP.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
You know what I'm saying? He beat Texas. Yes. We couldn't beat Texas this year, but he coached a team that could beat Texas. So that gives me hope.
I don't think it'll take you long to figure it out. I'm going to tell you, from an Alabama standpoint, there's only 3 games he's got to worry about next year. Auburn, LSU, and Tennessee. They win those 3 games, he'll be a national hero in Alabama. And
for that year. For 2024.
Yes, but I mean,
and only 2024.
But that'll put him in the good graces. Because I'm sure right now there's a lot of Alabama fans that just aren't sure where he's coming from. Like you said, there's no SEC and all those kind of things. But
but you know what? That's the only knock, the only chink in the armor that I can find in him.
And I'm going to tell you, I go back to this Frank Thomas, Wallace Wade deal. When you look at that transition, Wallace Wade didn't have, Frank Thomas didn't have it. The coaching experience came from a small school and all those kind of things. So I'm just hoping that scenario plays out and holds true. Yeah.
But again, so we just talked about Kalen DeBoer, Washington Huskies beating Texas Longhorns in the CFP. And the Huskies lost to a very, very well-coached and strong defensive team, the Michigan Wolverines. Hats off to them and their defense. However, the last thing I'm going to say about Michigan is, again, you have to go back to Courtney Morgan, that player development coordinator, left in 2021. He is a big part of that architecture that got Michigan to where they are at today. And he is
Yes.
following Kalen DeBoer. And that's the kind of defense that we like to play in the SEC.
I was rooting for Washington in that game.
Oh, so was I.
I don't personally care for Jim Harbaugh, but I'm going to tell you, I respect that Michigan team, and I respect all those players. They won that ball game. There was some good coaching and stuff, but they had the will to win. They wanted to beat everything they've gone through in the last couple of years, and again, really embarrassed last year by TCU. They had something to prove, and
it's that same group of players.
And you can see those kids playing together, and so like that. So I get my hats off to the team, that Michigan team.
That was a strong defensive showing, and it was a master class of coaching that was put on by that defensive coordinator. He had us stymied. He had us fooled. We couldn't block them because of their schemes. They were showing one thing, we'd adjust, and they would do something else.
Absolutely.
And we were not picking up that backside bandit, that linebacker that was coming straight in and just killing Milroe. And it wasn't until the second half that we put in the H-back that you and I were screaming about in the first quarter. Put it in an H-back. Put it in an H-back. Pick up that blocker.
Yep. But talk about coach. There's a couple things he made on when he first came in that I picked up on that I really liked. He said in the next few days he's focusing on staffing, and I think that's going to be the key. What you said, that those two people, if we get a really good defensive coordinator come in, I think everything else will settle down just a little bit. And then he talked about people try to take advantage of the moment when the Alabama team wants to touch base with the roster and the potential players, and that's key. And I think he's done that, because once he kind of met with them, you haven't heard too much more. All that transfer talk was all before he had met with the team and stuff like that. And there's two other things he made comments on. One, he says, bring your best energy, attitude, and effort. I like that. And the other, he says, I'm all about winning. And that talks about his record, how he did it. Because you look at that conference he was in, the competition at those levels is just as high as it is in the FCS. And the other thing he said, I think most important is that about making sure my values are the values that Alabama has. So it's going to be. And you talk about his record. I got it all. The records and stuff.
Well, give us a little bit of that record. You printed out all that paper, you might as well give us some info. Well,
that's in 2005. He was at Sioux Falls. He was 11-2. He was an NAIA semifinal. He lost that game. 2006 at Sioux Falls, 14-0, first place, won the NAIA championship. And in 2007 at Sioux Falls, 13-1. Then in 2008. Sioux Falls, 14-0. 2009, 15-0. Both those years they won the NAIA championship. Then at Fresno State, his first year there was 3-3. Then he goes 9-3, and he played in the New Mexico Bowl. And he was 12-6 at Fresno State. And then, of course, at Washington, they won the Alamo Bowl against Texas. So that's twice he's beat Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
And
he beat Dan Lanning twice in the same year this past year.
So he's 11-2. Then his total record at Washington 25-3. But his total record is at 104-12. That's pretty good record.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. So,
and I qualified my comment. The Pac-12, the Pac-12 was not a weak conference this year. It was strong. The last few years, it's been kind of weak. It's been kind of up and down. But Washington, they just kind of, to me, they came out of nowhere, because the only teams you ever really hear about is either USC or Oregon. You only hear about those two teams, at least from a media perspective.
Exactly.
And they still weren't getting all the recognition. It was still all Oregon. And it was a lot of USC at the beginning until the wheels kind of fell off on them either. And I wonder how long the USC alumni and fans are going to let Lincoln Riley hang around.
I expect if he doesn't turn that program around, start winning next year and the year after, he'll probably be gone.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, this SEC, I think we're in pretty good shape because we play Western Kentucky on August 31st, then we play South Florida, then we go to Wisconsin, and then we get a break.
That should be a good game. The old Cincinnati Bearcat coach, isn't he up at Wisconsin?
Who's that?
The old Cincinnati Bearcat coach, the guy that made it to the CFP a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think he's at Wisconsin. First two games, I think, will be good for us. I don't think there'll be a cakewalk, but I think it'll be a learning process, figuring stuff out and things like that. And then when we play Wisconsin, I think that's going to be a tougher game for us. Then we'll have a week off to adjust. Then we hit Georgia. That game is going to define our season.
Yes, it will. That's the one you're going to hang your hat on right there.
Yeah. And how we do against Georgia is going to determine, I think, the success of that program going forward.
And it's going to determine the success, like you said, for the rest of the season with Auburn and Tennessee and LSU.
And those three games are huge with the Alabama fan base, especially Tennessee. And we're playing Tennessee at Knoxville, so that's going to be a real challenge. We're playing LSU at Baton Rouge.
And we got Auburn at home.
We got Auburn at home. So it's going to be an interesting season.
So that goes in our favor. So
I'm excited. It's going to be fun. But I think he'll do good. And
I couldn't be happier. I'm surprised you didn't hear anything about Lane Kiffin in the coaching discussions. And I don't really know if they offered Dabo the job or not.
Well,
I know Dan good and well, the Florida State coach. He was not in the running. He wasn't in the hunt. You didn't even see his name in any of the articles as a top 5 candidate.
Well, I had
Dan Lanning's name popped up. Kalen DeBoer's name. Those two coaches were always in the mix, and Lane Kiffin's name was always in the mix. Those three.
And Dabo actually, what I read, one article actually made a trip to Tuscaloosa, was interviewed. So and I personally like Dabo. I think he has a little bit of an attitude, and I think that's kind of what we need.
Lane Kiffin's got a bit of an attitude and something we need.
And I think he's a good recruiter, so we'll see. But I'm excited. Obviously, there's a lot of money involved with this. You know, it's a $12 million buyout there in this contract at Washington.
That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad compared to what Texas A&M had to pay.
Exactly.
Woo!
It's going to be a fun season. We might need to think about going down to the 8A game and check it out, see what we can see.
It'll probably be like all the other 8A games.
Yeah.
You ain't going to see shit.
Yeah.
You ain't going to see nothing.
Lot. Yeah.
Nope.
We'll see what kind of love that coach will get if ESPN and those guys want to show up, and because they're always there when Saban was there and stuff like that.
So I just saw on 24/7 Sports regarding Alabama football, just 7 minutes ago, they're saying Kalen DeBoer's staff at Alabama is continuing to take shape. Ryan Grubb, offensive coordinator Jamarcus Shepard, wide receiver Jarrett McElwain, director of scouting, are all expected to follow DeBoer from Washington. And Freddie Roach, D-line, and Robert Gillespie, running backs, are expected to be retained.
Okay.
I guess so. Keeping a little bit of the old.
What was Freddie Roach's position?
D-line.
I wonder if they would think about him. You know, I thought he did a good job with them last year. I wonder if he'll be the defensive coach.
We will see.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be like Saban when he first got there, right? You had all the talk about what they're going to do and blah, blah, blah. And it's a new era and a new time. And we'll see how well he does. He's, 49 years old. So if he does good, that he would have a real chance of tying or beating some of Saban's records at his age.
You know, another coach who was in the mix that I saw on numerous articles was D'Amico Ryans, who's now the head coach at the up-and-coming again Houston Texans. But I think he's got too good of a gig going there, and I don't think he was going to leave to come to Alabama. If he wasn't doing so good, different story.
Yeah, but then if he wasn't doing so good, he wouldn't be in the running.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing also on some of the other online sports talk is that Dan Lanning's buyout was higher than first reported, and he was not in Tuscaloosa. So which rumors do you believe? Dan Lanning. They're also saying that Kiffin was a target, but Greg McElroy didn't think that Kiffin was the target. But this was, I didn't think so, stuff a few days ago.
I think Lane Kiffin is an excellent coach, but I think he burned some bridges before he left. We kind of got away from that good old boy syndrome a few years ago. It actually started when we hired Saban, because prior to that, it was always hire somebody that
any kind of connection to the bear.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I think this is going to be a good move. You got somebody who's an independent guy, and the one thing that he made a comment that he's going to lean on Coach Saban. Coach Saban's going to stay there. I forgot now exactly what his title is going to be as an advisor role, but his office is going to be in the stadium.
Yep, I read that too.
And that he's going to reach out to him and he's going to listen to him. And he said, ask him something. He said he'll probably have about 10 things for him to listen to, but he's going to listen to him. And I think that was a key role, having somebody that will listen. That you can't have Saban's philosophy running him. It has to be his philosophy. It has to be his style.
100%, because it's his neck on the chopping block.
But then you got to listen to. There's some other people who can kind of, and I think that's where Coach Saban is going to be so valuable. I think he made a statement once. He said, "When you're thinking about retiring, you've already retired," and that is so true in life. Whatever you think about it, if you're thinking about it, then you've already done it. And I think he and Miss Cherry are ready to move on, do some other things in their lives. And I think he wants to enjoy those grandkids and stuff, and his kids, and what they're doing in their lives. And I think he wants to see the Alabama program to succeed.
Yeah, I think he is really bonded with not just the university and the program, but just all of Tuscaloosa. I think he's just such a big part of the whole culture of Alabama that I think that's why he doesn't want to leave. You got to remember, when he had won his second or third national championship, and there was pictures of him at the University of Texas campus, they had the money. And he stuck it out.
Yep.
I guess at that point in his life, he didn't want to start over. And when you're starting over like that, it's harder. And you got to remember, he was probably in his 60s at this point.
Well, he put those 2 years or 3 years in the NFL, and there's a big difference of coaching NFL versus college. In college, you're the person, you're the boss. But NFL, you're not so much. You may be calling the plays and stuff, but you're not necessarily the boss.
Nope, that NFL union and the general manager have a lot to say.
Yep. As a matter of fact, the general manager or the owner of the companies, those teams are going to pretty much dictate what you do and how you do it, because most of them are business owners.
Yeah, so they're like, you got $170 million to play with, and it's the general manager who gets to put the team together, not the coach. The coach gives input. He has his desires and wants and wishes, but there's a dollar amount that you got to live with.
Yeah. To talk about that, you got to give the Patriots a huge, huge shout out. The way they handled it with Belichick, with him leaving, it was a foregone conclusion that he was probably going to be gone. But how they handled that was so classy. They didn't make a big issue out of it. They let it go out on his terms and the conversations around, rather than being fired. I like.
But it's kind of coincidental that the wheels came off right after Tom Brady left.
Well, not really. If you stop
that program went into the skids.
When you start losing, and players like that, and Tom Brady's just a great player.
He's a generational player, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the last quarterback that was that great was Joe Montana.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited for some football now. It's going to be a long wait.
And it's a long, long wait.
It could be a long summer. But I got my Alabama softball games already out, so hopefully I'll be able to get the TV schedule here pretty soon so we can watch some Alabama softball. Speaking of softball, Coach's Dee's his oldest daughter has signed to play with Washington softball team. So
okay.
She's a senior this year in high school. So be interesting to see if how that works out, if they stay there and let her finish her senior year, or if she transfers or what, but she's already committed to Washington to play softball. I haven't had a chance to do research on, what kind of player she is and stuff like that, but if she's that good and Washington offer her a scholarship, it might be something we might want to look at too, the Alabama team.
Hey, scholarships are scholarships. And
Absolutely.
I don't hate any fan or family that wants to make sure that their child gets a free ride,
Well, it's a free ride and that you're getting money, but they've earned it. You had to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. They put the work in.
Scholastically, scholarships or those athletic scholarships, you had to put the work in to get it, or you didn't get it. So, but anyway,
I think we're at a natural jumping off point. What do you say?
Yeah, we're about 34 minutes now, so we give a shout out to your Aunt Carolyn there in Georgia. I know she's going to be listening to us. So,
hey, Aunt Carolyn, I know she's pretty excited about the hire too.
Do I?
I said I know she's pretty excited about this hire as well.
Yes, I'm sure she is. I haven't talked to her and seen anything too much, but I'm sure she is. We just got to help everybody be safe for the next few days. All this cold weather here in Texas, we're not used to it. Yesterday it was 70 degrees, and this morning it was 32. So.
32. But it ain't just cold here, Dad. It's cold all across America. There was an Arctic blast that just came on down. So everybody, stay safe. You ain't got to drive. Don't drive. Make sure your pipes are dripping and getting warm heat from. So keep your cabinet doors open and just be safe, everybody.
Absolutely. And we'll catch you on the next time.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one.
Bye, everybody. All right. Love you, Dad.
Bye.
All right. Bye.